So, good morning. Welcome to the NSL and CreaVi webinar. Thank you for taking the time to join us. Oh, we have another attendee that's, let's just bear with me. Time. Yes, so thank you for taking the time to join us this morning. You'll notice that your cameras and mics have been switched off. Please use the Q&A button at the top of the screen to ask any questions throughout the webinar. For those that have not yet worked with NSL, the business was founded back in 1996, and over that time we've gathered a wealth of knowledge that we share with our customers. NSL is an aggregator of services, and we have a portfolio of products that we believe are best in breed. NSL are our customers' partner of choice, and we are their one point of contact for project scoping, deployment, support, and billing. Our amazing partners like CreaVi provide the platforms that make the magic happen. And we were introduced to CreaVi by one of our other partner networks, and we were blown away by the services that they provide, and hence wanting to share that with our customers and other contacts. The AI enhanced speech analytics, quality management, and CSAT services have changed the way businesses are working. And I'm going to hand you over to Greg, who's going to tell you a bit more about CreaVi. And following Greg, Jack will give you a guided tour of the services. And again, please do use the Q&A button at the top for any particular questions. So over to you, please, Greg.
Thank you very much, Mark. And absolutely. So if you're involved in quality management or compliance adherence or understanding the voice of the customer, then today's session is absolutely going to be for you, because we're going to be looking at how you can unlock those actionable insights with data inside your contact center to drive performance improvement. So myself and Jack, we're from CreaVi, and CreaVi is a provider of intelligence and guidance solutions for the contact center. So you may not have heard of CreaVi. We were actually formed in the summer. The name was formed in the summer, and that was the bringing together of two entities that had existed in the market for many, many years. And we have deep heritage in the contact center, but we had a little merger and a rebrand in the summer. So I'll just walk you through that quickly so you can understand the two sides. And then I'll talk about the power of bringing those two sides together. So on the intelligence side, or a longer name for it, we call conversation intelligence. That's when you're listening to the conversation and analyzing that conversation, understanding what's being said, and then processing that and giving out insights in order to affect change, be that process, behavior, decision making, speeding up all of that. There was an organization called Tether, who are a market leader in the US in that side of the technology, and they were one of the entities that was brought together to form CreaVi. Myself and Jack were actually working at the UK side of the business, which was Awaken Intelligence. So you might have heard of them, or the CallScriptor product, which was the original sort of forming solution that helped them on the guidance side. So Awaken Intelligence is a market leader in agent guidance. So everything from unified desktops, to scripting, workflows, and most recently, and probably most importantly, agent assistance. And so the world's really moving very fast. Generative AI has unlocked a huge opportunity here to support the agent in real time. And so that part of the business is a specialist in agent assistance. Together, that intelligence and guidance is brought together in the form of CreaVi, and we are, a very happy partner of NSL's and other people in the market like 8x8. So we're going to be talking today just around the intelligence side. So Jack is going to be running you through some use cases, some examples of how we can unlock those insights using the intelligence product set. And then we'll try, we can really get into and have some questions around the art of the possible. But for example, Thrasio, and one of our clients who's an innovator in the retail sector, was only monitoring 3% of their interactions. So Roger, this is very much speaking to your use case. They moved that to 100% by automating it with our technology. They manually calculated that they would have needed 528 analysts to have looked at 100% of their interactions. So we did that for them, and they realized cost savings in the hundreds of thousands. We also have a client, Spark Energy, who are a utilities client, and they use the product for compliance monitoring. It's very crucial to them when they're selling a utility product that their agents say the right things, read the right compliance statements, all that. So again, the power of the solution to understand whether that has been or hasn't been done is very compelling. And we also work with an insurance provider, an insurance TPA, actually. I can't share the name, but they were spending hours and hours of manual intervention every month, looking at incorrect dispositions, other errors around reason for call. And again, we automated that process for them, saved them a huge amount of time. I think it was a 99% reduction in hours, and that's obviously been verified and checked. So I'm going to hand over to my colleague Jack in a second, and he's going to run you through how we pull together the platform so that you can get the actionable insights out the back to then affect change. And as I say, that could be a process improvement, coaching of agents, decision making, whatever it is that you need to do. We can help you unlock the insights that drive that. Cool. So over to you, Jack.
Thanks, Greg. So good to meet everyone here today. My name is Jack. I've been with the former Awaken and now CareerVi team and in this industry and space for the last 4 years. But that focus on the background in contact center, as well as speech analytics, transcription, and the insights that we can deliver from the conversational intelligence tool being my real speciality. So I'm here today to walk you through that intelligence platform, talk about what we can do for you, the differences, I suppose, between doing this manually, the advantages it gives you, and some of the differences you'll be seeing from doing things as you're doing them now to the new world where you can look at all of these things automated and at scale, and the kind of insights and benefits it can bring to you guys. So keep it short and sweet. That's me, and we'll be giving you the full demo walkthrough today. All right. So unless anything else, Mark and Greg, before we want to jump into that demonstration.
Nope, all good from this side. Thank you very much, and thank you for the introduction from Greg regarding CareerVi.
Thanks, Mark. All right, guys. So I'll be taking you through our platform today, giving you a real sort of high look at first how speech analytics and our solution really works behind the scenes. Then we'll be doing a deep dive on some of the key sort of modules that we can deliver. That's really around how our quality assurance and automated scoring and coaching works, before diving into one of our newest modules, which is automated CSAT, or customer satisfaction AI. But I'm going to share out my screen, and we'll be starting at the top with how our platform works and what it can give for you guys. So hopefully you can all see my screen coming through now. So our solution allows for the ingestion of up to 100% of all of your customer facing interactions, or any interactions that you want to bring into the platform, and gives you the insight as to what is happening on every single one of those calls. So whether it is a digital interaction like a email, a ticket, a chat interaction, or a case from a ticketing casing system, or your standard inbound and outbound phone calls, we're able to bring those in and analyze them. If it's a phone call, an audio interaction, we actually transcribe those calls into the native language and then spot keywords, key moments, and key intents throughout every single second. We then give you the ability to do full insighting and reporting, all within the tool, using the business intelligence and reporting front end that you're seeing here. So I'm starting almost as a CX or analyst in my demonstration system. So this might be the sort of typical dashboard I start with. We do offer these dashboards almost as pre-built accelerators to get all of our customers up off the ground running. But everything you're seeing here today can be tailored to exactly your need, exactly your use cases, and exactly what you care about. But coming into this dashboard, I've logged in and I can immediately see my daily contact volume. So the combination of all the cases, phone calls, and emails that I've taken that day. And at a glance, I can immediately see what those top call drivers or customer contact reasons are. From order tracking all the way through to product help or return and exchange, these are the key intents and discoveries that have been pulled out automatically from my data. We can see not just the percentage variances, because we're looking at a daily dashboard here, we can also see the deltas for today versus yesterday. And you're able to configure this to look at whatever scale you need, rolling it back all the way to yesterday, the week before, or even year-on-year dashboards. All the filters are both modifiable from the dashboards themselves, so you can see the date range we're looking at. Or you can duplicate these dashboards and publish them and easily share them at any time, both within the tool and emailing out for board reporting and analytics. We can see where contact reasons have fallen down. We can see where contact reasons maybe have come in via one channel and had to be defaulted to another, and what that key issue was where people might be calling about that our agents haven't been able to solve. And see that via a web issue, an SMS, or an application issue, or the key contact reason that people were calling about. We also analyze customer sentiment as well as agent sentiment on every single one of your interactions. We look for things like both the emotion as well as key frustration flags and what we call overall effort drivers to look at how easy we're making it to deal with us as a business. Where we can see low effort markers, we're making it really easy to deal with us. Where the customer may have some frustration, where those channel switches have been detected or other effort flags have been detected, those might creep up into high effort. And where we're making it so difficult for our customers that if they are at risk of leaving us as a business, we might call that churn risk. Or if they're just very, very frustrated, this might be your ultra high effort perception reason. And we may want to drill into this and see, are there particular call reasons or particular lines of sentiment that are responsible for that high effort? Looking into that negative customer sentiment, we can see that a key driver of it is things like uncertainty, frustration, price concerns, or confusion. And we're able to combine that with those key call driver detections that you saw above. So it's not just giving you interesting statistics, it's letting you see where those real problem areas lie and able to then take action upon that. So we can see with frustration, for example, here, the biggest driver of our frustration is when they're having to be channel switched, when they're coming in on a chat line and having to be then pushed to the phone or vice versa, where they're having reoccurring effort, where they've said, I've called you yesterday, I've called you 3 times before and this still hasn't been solved. Or where there's issues with their application, where they're trying to self-serve and not being able to manage it. Or there are particular lines where your agents aren't doing a good job explaining it. So in our case, we're calling this driver uncertainty. We can see that refund or credit inquiry lines or refunds or credit status seem to be key issues our agents are having issues with. Now, how this looks underlying on individual interactions, I've just got this tab open here. So I've had these 2 calls that I made earlier open, and just to give you a feel for whether it is a audio interaction, like a phone call, as you can see from that little symbol at the top there, or indeed a digital interaction, such as a case or chat, the system will look very similar. For every single one of the interactions you decide to bring in, we will have this key waveform of the entire interaction with all of the key moments flagged that you care about from both the agent and customer. Hovering right there at the top, we can see the key moments in detail, where we can see that the things that have been flagged from the agent right at the beginning of this conversation are some QA elements that we've correctly recognized and scored, some positive sentiment from the agent, and 2 more QA elements. Below that, on the customer, we can then see some areas being detected, such as the reasons for contact that we saw, effort markers, as well as some negative sentiment around confusion. Every interaction can be brought in and we transcribe it if it is an audio, but we also do AI summarization. So anyone reviewing an individual interaction can see immediately what the call was about. We break that call down into chapters. So key moments are marked and time-stamped, and you can easily jump to them. And those chapters break out the interaction. So above, where we saw those key flags of the QA element of greeting, gratitude, agent name, we can then see how those look on the transcription. So we can play and listen to this interaction from the very beginning and reconcile the interaction.
Thank you for calling the Tether Credit Union. This is Michelle. How can I help you today?
Yeah, I have a question. I'm trying to use my card, but it keeps saying denied or declined. Can you tell me why this is happening? I'm so confused. I've never had this issue before.
And here you can see where those categories have been flagged. With the QA elements that we've built in, those have been detected of what the agent's speech has said there, and the reasons for contact have pulled in based on the language that the customer is using. Now, this is not keyword spotting, and it does not necessitate things like a huge bank of keywords and key phrases to be built into the platform. Not only do we have thousands of these categories pre-built to get you 50, 60, maybe 75% of the way there for your business, we've got all of those key use cases built out and ready to go. The system is able to auto learn and auto develop itself using your data. And a key example I'd like to show with that is on the QA element here. As you saw there, we've got thank you for calling. Underlining that key phrase is the system showing us that that is a system element that's been identified as a greeting. If you want to tailor that, or if you think that that isn't fit for purpose, then you're either able to create your own category or train the existing categories to make sure that they work for you. So if we wanted to include, for example, on every interaction from our agent saying not just a greeting like good morning or thank you for calling, they also wanted to say the company name. Thanks for calling NSL. Thanks for calling Kriavai or the Tether Credit Union. I can train the system by highlighting that phrase and adding that phrase to my category. From there, I can either add it to my existing category, such as greeting, or I can create an entirely new category and call it whichever I wish. Our STQA here is just our nomenclature for our standard QA. You have complete control over the naming and reporting elements. With a simple click of marking that phrase as relevant or not relevant, the system will be able to learn and understand from that interaction that a key greeting with a customer name, with a company name is what we're looking for. And we've found in our experience, anything from 3 to 5 examples for those kind of use cases is more than enough for the system to auto learn from there. And then that will be applied to all of your interactions where you want those categories to be found. So I'll click add. And now we can see our entire system is highlighted. That will go through a vetting process, so someone can sign off on that. Or if it's just you, a much smaller user base on the platform, it can be a much simpler process to sign those off. And you can always roll those changes back as well. Now, these categories, whether they are QA, reason for contact, or effort flags, are all built out the exact same way. All we're doing with the quality assurance is actually giving those individual markers a score. And that's true for the effort indicators as well. So if we look on the top right of the interaction, we can see those markers that we saw on the front page dashboards on their individual scores, like the effort index, where we are detecting those effort flags, as well as the QA score, as well as CSAT AI of a predictive customer satisfaction rate, the overall agent sentiment, negative, and the customer sentiment there as well. The quality assurance score of 100 out of 100 has given us a pass, as we would expect on this particular call. But we can see how that has been scored using the scores tab here. So you can have a QA scorecard built into the tool and applied to the individual teams or departments that you need. You don't have to have one set scorecard. Individual teams or even individual agents can have their own QA scorecard set, but you always have one main scorecard that appears on the transcript individual data view like this. So the QA scorecard here, even though we have a separate sales quality assurance, which is looking at different metrics, is what's our main scorecard. Now, in this case, we've got a 100 out of 100 grading, but those points are entirely tailored by you. We typically work by either informing our customers as a sort of best practice, or we'll take their existing scorecard metrics and replicate it within the tool. We call this automated quality assurance and is one of the key pieces of our QA modules and works in conjunction with what we call the manual scoring and coaching to really give this 360-degree rounded view of quality assurance. Clicking into these 5 sections here, the connection through to the resolution, if I show my details, we can see that those are broken down from top line sections into the key categories that we detected on the call itself. So these are the categories we're looking for to score that particular section. And where they're found, we can see an immediate match or not match. And then we can see how that has been scored up. Now, the reason I've chosen this example is because we've got 3 sort of really interesting types of scoring on this interaction that can give you a huge amount of flexibility to fit your scoring metrics and give you faith and confidence in the automated scoring. In our case, we've got greeting, which has 2 matches, the agent name of a match, and the offer of assistance. I can hover over the information to get a bit more insight as to what this category is doing. And each one of those hits has given me, I believe, 10 points, 5 points, and 5 points to roll that score up. So very simple scoring. Below, we're able to also apply things like weighted scoring and classification. So the verification section only warrants 1 key piece of information being found. In our case, the agent has acquired the customer's name, and they haven't needed to acquire the email, phone number, or what financial institution they're coming from. So they haven't been penalized in that regard. We've found 1 match, and that's given them that full 20 out of 20 points. And below, the diagnosis section. This is able to score on what we call sequential categories. So essentially, if something has been done, what is the next step in that process? And we're able to combine customer information being given along with agent speech to score that really accurately. So in our case, even though probing questions haven't been found, so the agent probed questions to understand or diagnose the issue, they've still received a full 10 out of 10 score. I can go back to my transcript and see that immediately after that first introduction, that reason for contact was given. All the information the agent needs to solve that issue is being given right there. So our system logic is either the agent asks probing questions or the reason for contact is given before that. So you can build that logic in and really start to chain those together. So you can have a sequential chain of categories saying if this was found, then this, or this, to build that logic in. So your QA is making sure that your agents aren't just being verbally scored. You know that the process is being followed. And that's a typical problem with a lot of old QA solutions is the agent starts to learn how to game the system. They start to know what they're being automatically flagged on. And they can say anything they want in the entire conversation. And they can even give a greeting at the end of the call. And it will score them accurately. With this, you can do sequential categorization. You can look for things at the start, the middle, or the end of the interaction, or before or after certain beats of the conversation to ensure that that process is being absolutely adhered to. So that's what we call the automated scoring. And if we look at this on a dashboard view, we can see how this looks from a reporting layer at both the supervisor view and also the agent level. I'm going to go into my reduced cost and agent RX and our auto QA and show you 3 example dashboards that we have set up. The typical one might be our auto QA manager for that objective scoring. Here we can see at scale, as you would expect, the average score that we're receiving from not just that one interaction, not just that agent or team, every team that we've got in the system. We're able to set our overall goal. Let's again see our delta from the previous month, see how that's trending. See that overall performance on a score range and see how the agent sentiment is comparing to that as well. From any one of these interaction KPIs, I can drill down to the underlying interactions below. With a click, it will take me to everything that's making up that report. So I could easily go in and see all of the calls that had failed on the date range I have selected. And there I can see a small preview against each interaction of everything that happened, the agent that took it, and that QA scorecard that we have applied. I can see all of my teams and immediately get that at a glance look at how my teams are comparing and see where attention needs to be focused. Team 3, clearly that average has dropped. Now, again, we've got the green, yellow, and red markers that can be customized according to your KPIs, so you can make sure that you're focusing your attention where it needs to. And combining these combinations of KPIs lets you really start to see the picture. It's not just that Team 3's average score is down, their sentiment is really down as well. And it could be because they're taking more calls than anyone else in that contact center. But we can get more granular with that and start to look at that on an agent level view. Because here we start to see, is there a real problem across my entire contact center agent team? Or are there certain key areas that agents are struggling with? Johnny Velasquez immediately jumps out with that RAG scoring. He's on 74%, so not a terrible agent by any means, but not where we want to be of our goal of 82. And it's his verifications, so worryingly his compliance statements, his recording disclosures, all of those key things that you need to be saying to your customers that is letting him down. So with Johnny, I can start to execute targeted coaching, and I can also see that resolving, so that final categorization of essentially asking the customer, have I solved your issue, isn't being asked. And that's anything that the entire team could use some overall coaching on. So this for automated objective scoring covers, say, the broad swathe of those issues that are going to take up all of your time. This is that at scale look at being able to automatically flag all of those key areas. But where you do need to come in and maybe take a quick manual look at those interactions, we've given you a separate ability to do that through what we call subjective scoring. So if I come out of my objective dashboard and look at my subjective evaluations, this is going to let me take a look at every single interaction that has been flagged to me in a simple dashboard view. So I can supplement that automated review with a manual evaluation and be alerted to that. And I can see 29 interactions that I need to take a look at this week. Again, I can click into this and open up a particular interaction that I need to review. And if I take the one I have already open here, that can be done from the Evaluations tab. So what this will do is let me perform a manual spot check where I can go in and open up a scorecard that you've built within the tool. So for example, a QA evaluation. And it takes me into this evaluation mode. Now we've seen this rapidly increases the time it takes to do a manual evaluation, anything from up to 60% of time saving, because you have that entire summary, you have the chapter breakdown, and you also have the transcript and playback to quickly jump to those key areas. So side by side, you can say, did the agent perform that good greeting? Did they need improvement? Was it poor, missed? And you can see the score is applied depending on what I select. We can add comments to each piece. So for example, did they resolve all customer issues? If they only did that partially, I'm able to add a comment here and say, let's discuss this in a one-to-one. These comments can be fed back to the agent in what we call the evaluation and coaching layer above that. And this provides a separate score, which can be viewed again at scale in the agent view, as well as the manager view. So agents can come in and get a customized dashboard for their own for their own needs, where they can see a tailored view of everything they're doing well in, where they're falling down, how they're scoring in any custom manual evaluations that we're doing, and the ability to self-coach, because we bring those reasons for contact back in. We can see the top contact reasons an agent has difficulty handling, and they're able to see where they compare with the benchmark of the top 25% of your agents. They're saying things like they're powerless to help, or they're really confused more than anyone else. They're able to see the areas that they have a lot of success with, and where they could perhaps be used as examples to coach the rest of the team, where they're doing things like great brand advocacy, good proactive guidance, and good probing questions, and how they have performed on their overall evaluation score. The final piece of this puzzle is the new module we have, which is the coaching layer. If I click on this, you can see that I am also assigned as not just a reporting viewer, I'm also a coach on the system. So coaches is an additional flag you can have against your account, which lets you access this module and provide targeted coaching to your agents. The coaching system allows you to provide targeted feedback with a full workflow, give agents specific goals that they need to achieve, and roll through a targeted coaching process, bringing in all of the QA elements that you've seen previously. So if I see the agent I've already got coaching, Kelly Tip here, we can see how she's doing in terms of her overall goals. So she's got an initial goal of going through the agent onboarding part 1, compliance, going through a second part of sounding professional and positive, as well as going through our overall team's goal here. I'm able to review how she's getting on with those goals. Has she completed training materials that I've assigned to her in the platform, or set up new sessions with her as a one-to-one, for example. So I can add my notes in the one-to-one from here for both public viewing as well as internal that can only be shared with the agent. I'm able to add goals based on the feedback that I've seen in my other dashboards. So if we know that Michelle or, for example, Kelly needs to work on her resolution, I can add that as a new goal and say, resolve improvement. I can add individual coaching evaluations from the rest of the platform, or even add individual interactions that I might want this agent to review from that individual data record view. I can then mark that session as complete or share it out with the agent and request agent acknowledgement of the session. So if I'm sharing training materials, I can request that the agent acknowledges this to acknowledge that they have completed that training. So if we can see that further improvement. Right. So that's the full QA wrapper, going from individual interaction scoring all the way up to the reporting and dashboarding, and then feeding that data back to the agent so we get that continuous loop of improvement. Now I want to come on for the next 5 to 10 minutes just to talk around the CSAT AI, because that is a proprietary tool from Creavai, which is an answer to essentially doing post-call surveys without doing a post-call survey. What this is a predictive module, which is at scale going to give you a look at how a customer would rate us if they were to do that post-call survey. We built this by taking hundreds of thousands of real data interactions that had an attached survey, and we've built this into a machine learning model that then gave us a predictive score and a holistic view of the entire customer service experience. We essentially identify over 200 markers and see where a dissatisfied reaction might be caused or a satisfied reaction might be caused from an agent, and where we would expect the broad result of them to be neutral. Now, from our customers that we've worked with this so far, we've seen anything from 90 to 95% accuracy to their existing surveys that they're using as a base of comparison. So this is a true, again, at scale look at that customer satisfaction rates, because we do know historically from surveys, generally the survey results that we get will be either the most happy customers in the world who've received such good service that they're going to feed that back, or it's going to be the ones who are absolutely furious or just have a bone to pick and they're going to leave a dissatisfied review. So instead of getting those two extremes, we're getting a true objective look at, again, all of the interactions that you feed into this. You can get everything that you'd expect to see. So in terms of your KPIs, is that trending up or down over time? How are my individual teams breaking out? But then start to look at, are the outliers that I need to worry about? So who are my bottom performers in CSAT AI? Are there particular agents who are giving really high levels of dissatisfaction or DSAT? Like Michael Mann, across his 96 interactions taken, has a dissatisfaction rate of almost 50%. On the other hand, Sarah Singleton, across those similar number of 83, has an almost 54%, which is great. And we can start to drill into why this is happening with individual call reasons. So we've got 38.2% of our customers across the last 2 weeks being dissatisfied. What were the call reasons that they were calling about that resulted in that dissatisfaction? We can see that call reason, see the key products that we might be selling or being mentioned that are driving that dissatisfaction, see the key words that are associated with that dissatisfaction, and drill down again to the underlying interactions that find them up. And vice versa, what is the most satisfied customer rate that we're getting? What's the top customer reasons that a customer might be calling in that they're really happy with and saying, yep, great, that's my issue solved. And what are the key drivers that are changing and impacting that CSAT AI? We can have a look at that on an individual interaction as well, linking it right from the dashboard view. And we can see that score there. And the CSAT AI is separate and scored separately to sentiment. Sentiment and emotion and tone, those are all good markers, but a customer may call in absolutely furious, and they may even end the call still slightly annoyed, but that doesn't mean they didn't get good service and they didn't end the call satisfied with their problem resolved. So those two markers together, again with your quality assurance and agent performance views, can give you that real holistic view as to your overall performance. Everything you've seen today, all of these dashboards are of course completely tailorable. CSAT AI is an ever-evolving model, and we're constantly feeding and training new data into it to improve that accuracy. But that is really where, I suppose, for me today, I would like to end that session with that look at the agent side, the customer side, I suppose the overall holistic view of speech analytics. So, Mark, I'll hand back to you.
Thank you very much, Zach. That was really, really interesting. I was just thinking about a couple of projects that we are working on together at the moment, and looking at where certain members of the team have been really productive, or say looked at a cross-sell or an upsell, and then feeding that information to other members of the team that possibly aren't doing that. So as much as a quality management side, this could also be used as a driving additional sales or improving revenue for a business as well.
Yeah, absolutely.
So,
that's something we haven't really touched on today because we've only got an hour, but it's great to go into those sort of things.
Exactly.
Where, for example, dashboards, you can see all the pre-built, as it called, accelerator dashboards that we have here, looking at things for sales and improving conversion, identifying agent behaviors really around not just quality assurance, but how they're performing in terms of sale. Again, measuring your key statistics, being able to see from your either interaction data itself or metadata that's supplied as to your conversion rate. And we can even put a value of conversions against that. So for example, the average cost per sale, or even individual cost per sale to roll that up. But by identifying those agent behaviors, we can then start to explore and take action on individual data points. So if I just scroll down to this KPI here, we can see where we're losing opportunities due to no rebuttal being mentioned. So we can score every single interaction and see where an agent is saying a decent rebuttal and where they're converting that overall sale opportunity, and where they're just not saying anything and losing it. We can start to put this into overall quadrants as well. We can start to see which objections are the easiest to overcome. So people saying that they're busy, or they're call back later, or they're not interested. You can see that objection over price has a decently high conversion rate, but it is being mentioned on a lot of our calls in this upper quadrant. Whereas people saying they're not interested, really high volume and has a very low conversion rate. And that's the sort of thing we'd want to target. We can see against that, what are the most successful rebuttals? Rebuttal of offering a discount is being mentioned all the time and has a really high rate of conversion. And we know that from our data. So we can start to then target what's the best performer against particular objections. Of all the objections we're detecting using that category scoring, we can start to see that if people are saying they're not interested, actually, if you rebut with the no cost or no obligation, or even better, it's free to cancel or free to change, we can see that that has actually a really decent rate of turning that around. Whereas unsurprisingly, if you say something like, I'm not in, I need to consult someone else, and then you say, oh, I can't guarantee the quote or price, doesn't tend to work. And this sort of view gives you that insight into those optimal agent behaviors that you can use for coaching. We can even do things like look at your optimal talk time based on your conversion rate, how your active dialogue is looking. So is your agent talking too much or too little? Are they controlling or dominating that conversation? What's your ideal average handle time or silence time? And bring this back around with the sort of sales competency QA that we looked at on an individual data record to look for those basic sales behaviors. Are they asking for the sale? Are they handling objections well? Are they mentioning add-on packages or trying to convert that sale?
Brilliant. That exactly what we were doing for that particular situation. And the other project that we were working on was along the quality management and training side. So this particular business is onboarding new members of the team, but actually, rather than having one quality management template to work from, we've created three. That by staging that, you can actually measure the progression in different stages for that particular member of staff. So I thought that was really interesting in that it's not one template or one measurement tool, but actually can be staged for the progression of members of the team. How is the CSAT AI calculated, Jack?
Yeah, no, so it's an automated measure, and as I mentioned, it's a constantly improving one. But it's calculated based on over 200 individual sort of data points within the interaction itself, as well as the predictive AI that looks at the entire interaction, be it chat or audio, and essentially looks for things like how the customer is talking at the beginning of the call, the end of the call, the overall tone that they're using, the satisfaction rate above historically that kind of subject matter within your industry. And it is a predictive tool, but it's been trained on hundreds of thousands of those real interactions that we've already passed existing call survey results into. So it is a full-on replacement for your post-call survey interactions and can save money if you are using those sort of survey tools.
Brilliant. And what languages are supported within the platform?
So we support English in terms of everything you're seeing here today out of the box with the UI and the basic transcription. The ASR engine, we use DeepGram. So we support all of the languages that DeepGram currently supports, which includes individual dialect models for accented English as well. So Australian, American, Canadian English all have a really, really high accuracy rate, and we're talking over 95%. We also support a huge variety of the European languages, various flavors of Spanish, even some of the East Asian languages, including Japanese, Chinese, and Hindi. The only caveat with those transcription is even though the transcription will be really high, we don't have any of the pre-built categories that you saw today. So while it will work, we'll be doing a lot more professional service to get those categories built and detecting the key elements that you need.
Brilliant. Thanks, Jack. Right back at the beginning of the webinar, you mentioned that this can be used for digital, so chat, emails, notes within a CRM, as well as voice. How this is saying that the system is pretty much platform agnostic in that it will work with any current platforms and you don't need to change what you're currently using. Is that right?
Yeah, completely correct. So with audio, it really doesn't matter what telephony system you're using. We do have API connections pre-built to the main players in the market. Now we can also develop an API connection to whatever telephony you're using if we don't have one pre-built. But that is only if you need that sort of constant stream of data coming in. Otherwise, we just take an audio file, we take a metadata file to go along with it, which might contain things like the agent's name, what team they're in, and we can push that into the tool and it's ready to go. Now for digital interactions, we do prefer things being in like a case management system or a ticketing system, because then we have a clear beginning and end to that conversation. And that's all we need in that regard.
And what about businesses that have to follow certain regulations? How would you measure whether the team are following those regulations and sharing the correct information with customers during a call?
Yeah, so that is a great use case for both talking about redaction, which I'll come back to, but also the sequential categorization that I mentioned before. So the ability not to just detect that something is being said or not being said, being able to check that things are being said as strictly or as loosely as you care about. So we can range from literal keyword spotting in a definite order where things must be said verbatim, or where you just care about the intent being given across, and then you're able to chain those together to even look for the customer response being a verbatim yes or no, followed by the agent's next action, and so on and so forth. And you can have these limitless chains that even branch out to look for different processes and regulations being followed by the different teams, or if the conversation takes a slight change in tone or track. If they talk about one thing and start talking about another, you're able to build that logic in.
Okay, brilliant. Thank you.
For redaction, we can redact any sensitive information ranging from PII to PCI data from the tool itself. If something does sneak through, you're able to actually quarantine interactions within the tool itself, which will remove that data straight away.
Fantastic. Brilliant. Thank you very much, Jack. Those are all of the questions that have come through from the Q&A. I've just activated people's microphones as well. So if anyone has a question that they would like to put across to Jack or Greg or even myself, please feel free to do so.
Sorry, Mark, can I just ask, in terms of platform, so where does this sit in terms of your telephony system and your call recording? For instance, we've got a telephony system that we're looking to change. So if we bought off on this and went, right, okay, let's put it in because it's a game changer, then if we then go to 8x8 in 2 years' time, at what point do we plug it back in? Is it platform agnostic to a degree? Is it looking at your call recording solution? How is it listening to the calls?
That's a great question, Roger. So we are completely agnostic. All we care about is the call recording itself, and you pushing that data into us. Some of our customers will not have any sort of connection to the telephony at all. They'll just download a batch of calls, maybe every day, every week, push them to us, and away we go. I say all we need is the interaction data itself and a little bit of metadata to tell us, what date the call was on, what agent took it, and that sort of thing.
Yeah.
We don't have any necessitated dependency on the telephony itself. There's no streaming of audio or anything like that.
Excellent. Thank you.
Brilliant. Thanks, Roger. Great question there. Anybody else have any questions for Jack or Greg, myself?
Yeah, those call reasons, then you can define them. You can basically look and say, right, okay, was this chasing up a quote? Was this somebody asking for to pay a deposit? And all that you can basically free form text and put in what you're looking for to define those categories of those calls. Is that right?
Completely, yeah. So if I did have that call back open, everything that gets flagged, I say these will have pre-built categories to flag 90% of the use cases, but then we'll obviously work with you from a professional services standpoint to make sure that we are capturing all of those reasons for contact that are coming into your system. And anything that comes in will be flagged out, and you're always able to add new ones.
Yeah.
As we touched on there, just by highlighting and adding.
So if you did a project, if you were focusing on a certain I don't know if you did, let's say you did an offer on Banham doors, you could basically look for any calls relating to, say, doors.
Totally. Yeah. And then you've seen some of the reporting options on that. How do you want to go about? Is it going to be the sort of standard reporting where you want to just come in and have that on your dashboard view like this? But you're able to tailor these views to say, yeah, only look at this subset of doors or this particular outbound campaign. What's the customer reception on that, or on the inbound line? What are people saying about this when they're calling about it?
Yeah. Excellent.
So the CSAT scores, Jack, I mean, that's something that a lot of businesses are focusing on at the moment, because they're trying to show potential customers that they are easy to work with and the product is phenomenal. And as you described before, when you ask someone to take part in a survey, they're either, I'm really excited about this product, you've been amazing, and I want to share this with you, or I'm really annoyed, and you're going to get both barrels. Mm-hmm. So by utilizing the Creovite product, you're really assessing every single phone call, and so you get a true idea of the business's performance. Is that right?
Absolutely. Yeah. And most of the time, as we see there, it probably will be neutral. They'll be relatively fine, nothing to complain about. It's a standard day. You start to see where those really dissatisfied calls are happening, and again, why they're happening, so you can actually take action on it. Say, are there particular agents who are doing particular behaviors that are really driving it? Is there a particular product line that people are absolutely furious about? Or vice versa, what are people really happy about? What's really easy to deal with that we can focus on or maybe replicate across the rest of the business?
What would be interesting is then looking at the trends of those. So if you've identified where there is something that needs to be addressed, then you can track that to actually see that the changes that you're making are making the differences to your CSAT scores. And I think the marketing teams would be really excited to be able to publish CSAT scores.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Brilliant. Okay. Well, that has been absolutely amazing. Thank you so much, Jack and Greg, for taking the time. And I want to thank everybody for attending today. As I said, we have recorded this. We will share it. So unless there's any other questions from anyone else, I'd like to thank you all for attending and look forward to seeing you at the next webinar.
Yeah. Thank you, guys.
Thank you very much.
Thanks, everyone.
Thank you.
Thank you.
See ya. Bye.
Thanks, Roger. Cheers. Bye.